Joining us now is CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini. Christina, you recently interviewed Ukrainian refugees at the border with Poland. Can you talk us through what you've seen and what you've learned?
Yeah, and just before I do that, I want to explain what's going on behind me. There's a bit of a pro-Ukrainian demonstration here in Rzeszów, which is about an hour from the border. We've been hearing them yell Slava Ukrainia, which is glory to Ukraine, and telling Russia to go do something that I can't really repeat on live television. At the border, it's been a little calmer today. We actually were very surprised. We went up, and a lot of those lines and crowds of super long crowds of refugees that we've been seeing this week have been cleared out. A volunteer told me they've gotten much more efficient here at pushing women and children through. Instead of coming through the gate and kind of being set out to fend for themselves, they're now being kind of gathered in a pen where they get a nice warm meal and they get put on buses. Then they go to this receiving center that's set up in a parking lot of essentially kind of like a Walmart here. And when we were there yesterday, there were people from all over Europe who had driven in, some of them overnight, holding signs, offering jobs and housing. We talked to one guy who'd driven from Munich. He said he'd been talking to the farmers in his town. They were offering shelter, they were offering work, and they were offering places to stay for as long as people needed them. And that's one thing. I mean, it is freezing here. These refugees have been walking all night. The journey to Poland, as of yesterday, was taking up to 60 hours, although it seems like once they get here, that part is going a little bit faster. And it's some of the worst days of people's lives, but I've heard over and over and over again how overwhelmed they've been by the show of support they've received here in Poland and the show of support from people all around the world. One man told me his problems ended when he crossed the border because everything he and his family needed were right here.
Christina, some are saying they're not seeing that support. There are some reports of discrimination at the border. African refugees and other minorities report experiencing more trouble leaving Ukraine than others. Have you seen any examples of that, and why is that happening?
I haven't seen any direct examples of that here at the border. In fact, I've seen a lot of African and Middle Eastern migrants, refugees coming over the border undeterred. It's been a diverse group in line with Ukrainian mothers and children. It hasn't been a problem that I've seen at that checkpoint. However, I had two discussions, one with a group of women who were female medical students from Africa who told me that the guy who was with them in their party was pushed by a guard on the Ukrainian side and told he wasn't allowed to board the train because it was women and children only. So I think there is a bit of confusion because a lot of times that's what people are being told. Even the guy with the family we talked to, I said all his problems were over. His name is Mohammed. He's originally an Egyptian citizen. His family is Ukrainian, and he tried to leave with his family, and they said, no, you can't leave. It's women and children only. So that could be part of what's happening. The other issue is there was a lot of confusion at the start. There are visa problems. I talked to a group of Indian students today. They're Indian engineering students who were studying in Kyiv. They have now made it here to Poland. They said it did take a long time. I asked if they thought there was racial discrimination, and they said, look, there is prejudice here. They have experienced prejudice in this part of the world. They've experienced racism while studying in Kyiv, but they said they think it was just a very, very tense situation and people weren't understanding the situation.
Right.
So I think is there discrimination? Is there priority for women and children who are Ukrainian? Yes, but I haven't seen any of that directly here. No one I've spoken to has seen that here on this side of the border.
Christina Ruffini in Poland, thank you so much for your great reporting. We appreciate it.